Hey, guess what? Your reservation has now been confirmed. You are now in the guest room of Dr. D. And on this platform, we have an authentic platform. We have our guests who will speak their mind, speak their truth, and be able to share their authentic story. Before you leave the guest room today, I need you to do me a favor. I need you to like, share, and subscribe to this channel here. And look at our amazing guests and listen to their stories as they bring their stories to life. And we have on our guest today, we have Miss Gebray here. And I am so excited that she decided to come by, and I'm just so excited that I finally got to meet her, and now we get to hear her story. So again, Gebray, thank you for showing up.
Thank you for having me today.
I am so excited. That was like last minute. I was like, Gebray is going to be next. So I was like, I'm so excited that you're here. So I wanted, first of all, let me tell you, guess how we met. We met on set, and Gebray had came with an appointment with Cedric, our producer here, and so we were just talking and just chatting, you know, just having girlfriend time. And before I knew it, I was like, she's going to be on the show. And so Cedric was like, yeah, you need to get her on the show. So here she is, and she obliged me. So I want you to tell our guests a little bit about you. Introduce yourself to our guests.
I won't embellish, but
okay. No.
But my name is Gebray Billups, and I live in Conyers, Georgia with my husband, and I have 3 kids and 3 grandchildren.
Okay.
I've been in corporate America for a very long time on the business side of it, and it's now at this point coming to manifest in my own company.
Okay.
That we started, which is Finding Answers Inside of the Home, Inc. We are looking forward to doing some great things. It focuses on mental health, advocacy, and support. Let's see. That's pretty much about it. Is that a whole lot to say about me? I'm not a person that really talks about myself. I'm more so of a person that looks for what I can do.
Okay, Gebray, you said you work in corporate America. How ironic is that, girl? Okay. And you know, it's amazing that working in corporate America, myself included, how ideas can spurn from that. And people think that working in corporate America, yeah, it's great. I'm not knocking that, you know, but it's just like when you know something that's evolving out of that, you know, that gives you, like you said, give you the answers as to what. Right. So while working in that corporate world and all of a sudden your organization is evolving, how did that come about?
Oh, basically, I've been in leadership with the company for over 15 years.
Okay.
And actually, the foundation itself, Finding Answers, came about at the death of my son.
Okay.
The influential part of corporate America was saying that being in a leadership role, if I can lead somebody else, then I surely can make what's passionate, that I have passion about, lead for me. Mm-hmm. And just at the end of 2021, my husband said, you know, you keep talking about this foundation, but you haven't done anything with it yet. Okay. And you've put all this time into building somebody else's stuff. What are you going to do? So I kind of prayed about it. Okay. You know, you got to go to God and ask for answers, because sometimes we are just afraid, you know, not necessarily afraid of the failure, but just taking a leap, you know, and just trusting God. And so I started to ask myself a lot of questions, and Finding Answers Inside the Home was actually something that came to me, oh my God, I'm going to say at least over 19 years ago.
Wow.
When my oldest son at the time was 14 years old.
Okay.
And in our community, they had a lot of children that were dropping out of school, a lot of gang violence, high school pregnancies and stuff. And I was like, you know, wow, you know, what can I do? You know, what can I do? Because my son is being heavily influenced by his peers.
Right.
You know, still digging it out every day, the 8 to 5, you know, racing home. And, but again, at the passing, he passed away actually in 2017.
Okay.
And so for a while, it shut me down. I'm still in corporate America, but I wasn't really functioning.
Right.
On different scales. I mean, there were a number of scales I wasn't functioning on. But the corporate America piece of it, it gave me something to do.
Yeah.
You know, you get goals, you get projects, you get tasks, and you see them manifesting. And at the plight of, again, my son's death, that company was still that thing that kept me going and helped me to forget, in a sense, right, what my reality really was. So again, back to my husband, he's like, you know, go ahead on and do it. So here we are, January 2022.
All right.
We start filing papers, and I'm excited. And I'm really just became even more excited about where God was going to lead and take me. And I had to go to him in a moment because it got hard. It gets still hard because
Yeah.
we've only been here a year now.
Right.
And I'm saying, God, it's not coming to fruition. It's not, it's not that. So now people are calling me and asking me, because you left corporate America, I said, no, I'm still in corporate America, but I'm in a different side of corporate America because I left that company and I went to a company where now I'm an analyst.
Okay.
And that's a funny story I'll tell you another day about that.
All right.
But I have this thing now. I'm fixing things. I'm looking at spreadsheet, and it's challenging me to think outside of the box. So God moves you from one position and say, okay, you've led here. Now you got to be able to think. Even when the puzzle doesn't fit, you got to make the pieces fit.
Right.
So that's where we are here now, in this moment of making it fit.
And it goes back to your point, Gebray, as you said, finding the answers. I mean, everything evolves back to that, finding the answers. And like you said, your husband pushed you and said, okay, he sounds like my mom. You've been wanting to do this. Now, when you going to do it?
When you going to do it?
My mom said, you always got these famous ideas, but you never just push it and go through. So, mama, look at this. Okay. So, you look at it. So, your husband pushed you. You had that support there. So, that was an answer being prayer. A prayer being answered then, right? So, God said, okay, I gave you your helpmate to help you to get to this point here. And so, now you're in corporate America. Now he's moved you from one space to another. So it's like now he's transitioning you. And even Nicole has said on her interview, it's a transformation in itself that you're now evolving into a new space. And so though you have the concrete foundation of finding answers, here it is, you're finding another answer to another layer in your life. Regardless of the tragedy, unfortunately, of your son, however, it's giving you a new leash on life to be able to say, through him, I'm able to do now, to help someone else. And so now you're now able to put that piece of the puzzle together, So, I mean, with that being said, so you said now that corporate gave you that space to say, I'm going to get numb to my reality. It's just going to keep me busy. But have you ever seen that when you're now in this analytical space, how it's helping you in your nonprofit space? How has that kind of played into itself?
Because that analytical piece, I'm a type person where when I don't understand something, I'm going to go read. That I've always been that person, right? I'm going to go find out, and I'm reading, and I'm applying it, and as I'm trying to come up with ideas on how to brand faith and how to brand myself, because at the end of the day, I'm learning too that people don't really believe in you or want to associate with you about or hear you on a certain topic unless you can say, I've been there.
Right.
Okay. If you've been there, oh wow, I'll take heed to that. And this is just a small caveat I'm throwing in. After my son's death, I said, I'm going to go sell life insurance. I was like, what are you going to sell life insurance for? So I'm going to be a life agent. Because at that time, I was awakened that I started to see a lot of people posting about their kids dying and family members and unable to bury them, right? So I said, okay, I'm going to go get my life license so I can go and I can, now I don't want to sell life insurance because I don't do that, but I want to be able to educate people because people receive it differently when they know you do that.
Okay.
So that's one layer. Okay, you will find that answer. This is what you're going to do for your people because you got to bring it back to the community. Get to the analytical side of this. I'm looking at spreadsheets. I'm trying to figure out puzzles, and the equations are just not going. And God said, what you have to do is step back, watch, listen, and pay attention, right? And eventually it will manifest. It will come.
Be still.
Be still, and I get frustrated sometimes.
Yeah, we do.
Because I'm realizing the main thing that I've been asking God to give me is patience, and I really don't want that.
Oh, girl, tell me about it. Hello?
That's
we want it when we want it. When we pray like this, like, where's that? Where's that?
And he started testing you because God has a sense of humor. Because as I go back to my son being 14, finding answers at that time was about the youth. But when we birthed it, it wasn't necessarily about the youth. It was about the adults. It was about the youth. It was about everybody who suffered or struggled or cared for someone who had a mental illness. That's what it became about. And I'm like, wow. So we win this grant from DeKalb County.
Congrats. Yes.
Thank you. And this grant is for youth domestic violence and prevention. And I was like, God, you have a sense of humor. Because I had totally moved completely away over the years from that. And my circle was just mental health. But now he says, no, we're going to bring it back to where we started from. It was about the kids.
Right, the foundation.
About the foundation. So I ended up, we started this program called Faith Kicks.
See, now you got another one. See, now that wasn't on the sheet of paper. Talk about the Faith Kicks now. Come on.
Faith Kicks ended up where I ended up getting served notice that we had won this bid. And I literally had 3 days. To figure out.
Well, an amazing 3 days. He rose. Okay,
I had 3 days.
3 days.
I had 3 days to figure it out, like what I'm going to do. And what Faith Kicks is that we identify kids in the community who have been exposed to violence, whether it's domestic, sexual, mental, emotional, whatever, and which puts them at high risk from being the victim to being the victimizer if it's not caught, right, or identified. So we identify these kids, we bring them in the program, and we pay for them to receive counseling with a licensed professional counselor, as well as they have a liaison, a case manager, who she has over 20-some years of social work experience, and she is a 6-dan martial artist.
Wow.
And so now we get to the third piece, because it's a 3-pronged program where we pay for them to take martial arts training 3 days a week. So that equates to 22 counseling sessions, 36 interactions with their case social worker, as well as 108 classes. Wow. And then we pay for them to compete in 2 tournaments. It's a 9-month program. And the purpose of the tournament piece of it is teaching them competition, because competition is good for you.
Yeah.
You know, and so we added that piece to it. And so it's been fulfilling. The kids that we've taken in have mainly been boys. And that's another thing, because God said it was about your son, so we're still going to keep it close to home. And they're as young as 7 years old. Our oldest, he's 9. And each of them come with brokenness. And so we're hoping our goal for finding answers is to help fulfill that and let them know that their emotions and their feelings, that they are relevant, they're important, and that, you know, because typically as adults, if we don't deal with the things that bother us in our youth, it will manifest over, right, to our adulthood, which unfortunately trickles down to our children.
Trickles down. And that sometimes, as you know, we notice in Black community that if we don't express that, if we don't seek the help, it becomes a taboo. Don't talk about what goes on in our house. And boys especially are taught to be the man. You don't cry. You don't show the emotion part of it. But a boy needs to express himself just as much as a female does, you know. And so I look at them, listening to what you're saying. I'm listening to, because you just lighten up when you're talking about it. I'm just like, yes, like you said, God said, I'm going to keep it to the core, to the boys, to your son. And that helps us. But how do you recruit, or do you have mentors? Do you have a team that's helping you in this space to be able to get those boys? How do you make those connections with the community to recruit?
So after the death of my son, I partnered with DeKalb County Police Department.
Okay.
And they have a lot of inside connections. We've received referrals by way of the F.A.I.T.H program, which is the Police Athletic League. Also, I end up encountering another nonprofit who deals with youth.
Okay.
And I received a referral via them, and he had a connection, because this particular person, he speaks at schools and he goes out. Good. So he connected me with the social worker for one of the schools. Another student, basically my point I'm going with this, we've come by way of many resources. We've had people in the community who say, hey, my niece or my nephew, you know, be a good fit. So we have them fill out an application. You can do a direct app if it's the parent themselves saying I'm asking. If we're going through a referral program, because we also went through a foster care program that helped us to identify a student. And so they tell us the reason why. And the kid has to be vetted, because everybody is not really for your program. You're like, they may have been experienced or exposed to domestic violence, but it all boils down, are they a good fit for what we're trying to do? Because the person has to, their families have to commit and believe in where we're trying to go. And so we have 2 that have just been studied in the program. We still have 1 vacancy left that we're just trying to continue to fill, because when I filled out the bid, we wrote it, I said, you know, we want to change at least 3 lives. 3, okay. At least 3 we want to be able to, but we also do workshops where we, where the forum, we actually have one coming up on April 15th at Stonecrest Library. We'll be doing a mental health workshop where we will be actually allowing the martial artists to work with the families that come as free.
Okay.
And they'll get a 30-minute self-defense type class. And then we have the workshop, which we will be talking about what mental health is. But again, just different avenues. But once they come in, we fill out the application. We have our behavioral health coach who reviews the application. I also review it. And she calls to vet them, to make sure, again, are you a good fit? And sometimes, I've had the social worker go out as well and to identify if they're a good fit.
And that's interesting you said, because you have a team and you say you're focusing on 3 and that you vet, and that you say you have to get the buy-in, of course, from the parents or the guardians. And I think that's an accountability piece for them as well.
Yes.
Because so many of our community, unfortunately, would just say, hey, go on and take them, but no, you got to be a part of the program as well,
Right.
And so when we come back, I want you to, elaborate on that. How have you, what challenges, or if there have been any challenges from the families when you ready to vet these children. So, hey, stay tuned for our second part with Gebray. We'll be right back on the guest room. Hey everyone, it's Dr. D. I'm back with you again, but hey, I want to let you in on something. I wrote a book. Yes, I did. I wrote a book. Hey, it's called Cage in a Cubicle Spiritual Lessons. And you know how this book came about? It came about as of me writing my dissertation and also me journaling. But could you believe that I was actually living my book through journaling as well as working? That's amazing. And when I say working, as a working on a dissertation, but actually working for a living. But also this book came out of me being able to understand what I was experiencing in the corporate sector. Been working in corporate America all of my life and enduring so much in corporate America. And I often ask God, why am I experiencing what I'm experiencing? And he said, why not? And so out of that, I was journaling, talking to people, just seeking some kind of advice and support. And little did I know, as I was journaling, I was also writing my dissertation, which reflected upon how I am actually living my life in corporate America. Now, I don't down corporate America. It is what it is. But from my experiences, it taught me some spiritual lessons. And God really spoke to me through this book. He spoke to me through my journaling, and he spoke to me through my dissertation. So I want you to do something for me. I need you to head over to Amazon, and I want you to go purchase this book, Cage in a Cubicle, Spiritual Lessons. Talk soon. Hey, we're back on the guest room. We have our wonderful, beautiful guest, Gebray, here. And she was letting us know about a transformation and how things are now coming into play. How, she's an analytical individual, but now she's realizing how the puzzle is now fitting itself. And so she has an organization, a 501c3 organization called Finding Answers Inside the Home, Inc. And so I want her to be able to share her experience as to how this was birthed and how now it's evolving. So she's going to share a story. So let's hear it, Gebray.
Well, yeah, Finding Answers Inside the Home is very near and dear to me, I must say. It came about after the death of my son, the manifestation of it. Although it had been in the works years prior, but actually after he was killed, we decided to try to bridge the gap between community and police. So a little bit about my story is that my son was a military veteran. He served in the Navy, and he went off. When he came back, like many of our veterans, he was not the same. So being new to me, I was very ignorant to mental illness. Totally was. Growing up in Alabama, people, when they used or talked about mental illness, always in a derogatory way. But
tabooish.
It's very tabooish. It was the elephant in the room. You just didn't talk about it. So he comes home in December of 2011, and instantly I recognized something is totally different. This is my son, but it's not my son. And when you see someone that you love is suffering, your only thing is, I want to be able to help or heal them. So immediately I go and I call my insurance company and say, hey, something's wrong with my son. I need to get him help. January 2012, we were in a physician's office, a psychiatrist's office, and they were diagnosing him. They would say, hey, he has depression. Hey, he's bipolar. Hey, he's schizophrenia. It was a roller coaster ride for us. So we tried to find balance and giving him a balance within his life. Well, unfortunately, he, at the age of 27 years old, he was experiencing a psychosis, and police were called out to the scene. Upon being called out in that incident, he was killed. I woke up the next morning to the TV. My husband would sleep with the TV on, and 6:42 a.m. I would see flashing lights at his apartment complex. And I remember turning to my husband, and I said to him, I said, that's him. At this time, they had not made it known that the suspect was deceased. So in my mind, that just never, I just knew a shooting had taken place between a suspect and police. And I said, that's him. And my husband turns to me, he says, well, how do you know? I said, I know. It's just something, this connection, something wasn't right. And so I jumped up. I'm calling Grady Hospital. I'm just trying to figure out, I'm trying to call him. And I jump up and I don't even remember if I washed my face that morning. It was just a lot going on. And I got in my car, and my husband's like, where are you going? I didn't know where I was going. But before I could get a mile down the road, my cousin called me. And she said, this is one of the hardest things that I ever had to do. She said, the neighbor called and said that Sean was killed last night. And in my mind, I'm like, I could not receive what she said, but something said, hey, turn around and go back home. When I got back home, my husband was in the driveway in the car, and he was crying because now he's received the news. And my daughter, she's calling me, and she's trying to figure out, like, what's the next step? What are we going to do? We get in the car, and my husband said, where do you want to go? And I said, I want to go to the hospital, because I still can't accept that the God I serve would do this allow this to me. So we go to the hospital, and the reality sets in now, because we're there, and the social worker comes out, and she says the body that we have has been taken to DeKalb County Medical Examiner's office. So I called, and when I called them, I told them I wanted to identify my son's body. And they told me that, they asked me a couple questions, as they always do. Then they came back and said, well, we don't need you to identify. He's already been identified. And I asked them how. And they said the FBI had identified him through his military records. So now we would try to figure out what happened. So I'm trying to place what happened between the last conversation that I had with him on August 2nd at 6:30 p.m. to August 3rd, 6:42 a.m. Like, where are these 12 hours? What happened in this period? And it would be a roller coaster ride for us and our family to try to really get the truth from police, whether that came by way of local police department, whether the GBI. It was a race. And as I'm sobbing and I'm going through this period, up and down, because now my own mental health starts to be challenged. Okay, I didn't even realize I was depressed, because now I'm just orbiting. That's the thing I talked about earlier with corporate America.
Right.
It gave me something to do.
Outlet.
It was an outlet,
Right.
that. And in my mind, I could never accept the fact he was gone. And for a long time, I would say he's just off at war, and that's how I dealt with it in the back of my mind. And I could see myself in this bubble and refusing to come out of this bubble, because I'm like, he's not gone. So every Saturday morning, I would get up and I would cry, because that would be the day I would go see him on this Saturday morning. These Saturday mornings wasn't happening. So my mental health is continuing to decline. So we still now back and forth between doctors, myself, psychiatrists, trying to understand where I was. Then I got diagnosed with breast cancer. And so I'm like, God, it just keeps coming. And so the psychiatrist said, they assign you a psychiatrist when you go through cancer.
Okay.
And the young lady, I never forget, she told me, she says, Ms. Billups, she said, I can't counsel you. And I asked her why. And she said, because until you're willing to accept that your son is dead, I can't help you. And I was in a very dark place there, because my son, I actually had him when I was 15 years old. And prior to giving birth to him, I tried to commit suicide. And after he was born, I tried to commit suicide again. So it was like this thing that resuscitated me. And so to have it snatched away, I couldn't. So the manifestation of finding answers, or saying, well, what can I do to stop somebody else from having to get to this place, the lack of education? Because I always said, if I knew more, if I could recognize the signs, how could I have helped him?
Right.
And I didn't want another family to have to go through, because prior to Quintus being killed, this is my son's Quintus, my mother had passed away at my home from cancer. And that would send him into a spiral, which I didn't understand. Like, there are triggers and emotions and things that would set him back. And I'm like, God, it just keeps coming. It was a rushing tide. And I have to go back to the word, because like, God doesn't place no more on us
than we can bear.
So, okay, obviously you can take this, because, God would not have allowed it.
Right.
And so I'm looking forward to what God is going to do with faith. And that's AKA finding answers. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward, because I truly feel like it's going to change lives.
It is.
It's going to touch lives. It's going to, touch homes. And our goal is to be able to make it easy to talk about, because it's not an easy conversation to have. Nobody wants to say, well, my son is this, or my daughter is this, or my mom is that, and you try to get to a place where you say, you know what? No, I'm not bipolar. I'm not schizoaffective. I'm not schizophrenia, saying that I am not my illness. I am a person.
I'm a person.
I have feelings. I have emotions.
Right.
And when we can get to that place, especially in the Black community, I'm sorry, because it's something we just don't talk about, because if you look at statistics, white people or Caucasian people, they receive a lot higher rate of mental health services and treatments than we do. We don't do that for ourselves. We're not taught to do that for ourselves. As you said earlier, boys are taught, you don't cry. You're supposed to be strong. And we're not helping them when we do that.
Right.
Because Jesus wept.
Yes.
Jesus cried.
He showed
so
his
why is
human
it that
side.
he's human side? So there's a human side of that. And again, our theme for our motto is each one reach one. And basically what that means is only 4 words that are very small, but it means a lot, because if I can change how you see mental health and how you see a person that is going through it, and you go and you talk to someone else, that's a domino effect.
Yeah.
So I'm not trying to come in and touch 100, touch 1,000. God's going to do that anyway.
Yeah.
And
it's just like the Bible said, if you can just touch one.
I can just touch one.
One can permeate a whole lot.
A whole lot.
And it goes back to the power of three. Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
It's divine. And so, again, I truly feel within my heart, and sometimes it gets jaded, right? It gets blocked, and it's like, God, the people are not coming, and they're not doing whatever. And but God said, give it time, because what we see as God's way of or God's timing, right? God's timing is not our timing, right? And He will allow us to go through things to grow us.
Right.
So in this season, I know that He's growing me, because I'm not the best version of myself.
Right.
So He's like, you're going to go through these things. You're going to have to go through the experience.
Absolutely.
In order to be able to help another family.
Right.
You're going to have to be able to. And sometimes I get, people, when incidents happen here in Georgia, there's a shooting amongst police. People call because they want to know, what are your thoughts on it? I don't watch TV. I haven't watched TV since 2019.
Right.
I kind of took myself out of it, and I had to redirect my focus, because if you don't, it's so easy. And when your cup becomes dry and hollow, you can't help nobody.
You can't pour from it. I mean, it's nothing there. And it's the power. Listen to what you said. You went to 3 instances: your mom, then your son, and then yourself. And then you're still standing.
I'm still standing.
Still standing to tell the story,
I'm still standing.
And like you said, you're human. I'm going to have these emotions. They're going to come up. You have a support system with your husband, your daughter. You have that support. And you look at it. And then, I was telling my Sunday school class this morning, one of the mothers, the dear mother, she's always telling me, because I asked her, how long am I going? And I'm just like, Habakkuk, how long am I going to keep going through this, And he said, just write the vision. Right. And make it plain, because you never know how your story is going to positively impact somebody else. And when you said they call me, and here it is, I'm going through my own personal bout, but they calling me. But He gives you that strength. When you are weak, He is strong. So here it is, He's giving you that strength to be able to do so, but you have your moments. And that's what I love about Him. He comforts you at that time. So I'm about to get on a whole different, this ain't supposed to be church, it's supposed to be, but I can empathize with you with that, because I see children in my community that I just had to recently, I'm dealing with children who are committing the suicides. and then able to now go into those parents and trying to comfort them in that speaking, and it's just like, what do I say? So he uses us in a conduit, and to say, you just do what I tell you. I will make intercession known. You just open your mouth and I'll do the rest. And so here it is. You're finding answers. And our irony to this, they're finding answers to you. And then you like, well, how am I getting the answers? Because you're living it. You know what I'm saying? How can you talk about something like you said, they don't want to know if you haven't done it, they don't want to. But you can truly say, I can live this, whether you give me the money or not, it's going to come. And then you said something earlier. It came by surprise that I got this grant. It came by surprise. My husband and I, we didn't even know we were going to get it. And I was unpondered. And I had 3 days. There's something about the word 3 in this whole thing going on. Y'all, we about to get with my Bible there. But it's something about that. And then you having the courage to tell your story. And then have a nonprofit. And your son will be just as proud, mama too, out of all of this. And here it is, you're helping someone else, and encourage them. That's why I say you inspire me, because who would have ever thought a mom could endure what you're enduring? And then you tell me, D, I wasn't feeling well, but I came and I pressed my way on through, your husband right there with you. That's what I'm looking at, the endurance, the perseverance. It says that the trying of your faith produces what? Perseverance. It produces that patience. And so you've done all that. You've exuded that, honey. You are the pillar of what a black, strong woman is right about now on the guest room, So I'm just really touched by that. And this is real talk. This is not a show. We didn't have this scripted. I just learned about her about a good 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago. But to hear her story, and I hope that it impacts you in some way, who was ever listening to this and watching us, that it can be done. You can walk through the valley of the shadow of death and know there is a rainbow and there is a sunshine on the other side of it. We may not can see it now, but we know that it resonates within us. And that's why we have this book, It's Time to Own Your Truth, because this book came out with some pain. And so when God said, write it, and I was like, each day, and I have to go through it. And she mentioned about the purging part. It's so much that we have to purge those emotions and come to that point of realization in our lives. And so I just want to say thank you, Gebray.
Thank you.
For being a part of the guest room. Thank you for obliging. It took a lot of courage to share that. I don't take it lightly. I take that very serious. And you just, I just want to say, I got somebody for you. I need you to talk to some people. And I told her about you, and she's excited to have you on board. And so I just want you to know that your story is encouraging everybody. And thank you for purchasing my little old book. And I just appreciate you doing so. And so we have fun on the guest room, y'all. Y'all see that hat? We have fun. So again, I am Dr. D. And again, thank you so much for just tuning into the guest room. But before we leave, I want Gebray to give us some of her contact. How can our guests get in contact with you?
You can reach us on social media at 3 Project Faith on Instagram. And we're also on Facebook on Finding Answers. Also go to our website at www.findingands.com. And you can email us as well at info@findingands.com.
There you have it. Again, this is the guest room with Dr. D, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Bye. Hey, you all, it's Dr. D again. I want to tell you, I got another book out. It's Time to Own Your Truth. This book came out as a result of me in a coaching class, but it also came as a result of my supervisor in corporate America telling me to be intentional about my goals. Now, in corporate America, you have your professional goals, but also he gave me something to think about my personal goals as well. Not that he needed to tell me about that part. I had that on lock, but being intentional about owning my own truth. And I had to sit down and I had to sit with that and marinate a little bit and say, D, it's time to own your truth. And I had 31 days to get it done. So I wrote a 31-day motivational book here. And so within that said, I have someone who actually bought and read the book. She's my guest, Miss Gebray. Can you give us some insight on this book? And I didn't pay her.
Yes, actually, when I first met you and you shared that you had the book, I decided, you know what? I need to figure out what my truth is. Okay. And I went, and let me say this. Thank you so
Okay.
She personally, notarized person, I am thrilled for that. But I went and I'm thinking in my mind, I'm just going to get this book and I'm just going to day by day just read it and it's whatever. So I opened the book up and the first, as you know, because you wrote it, on the first part, it started talking about what are you willing to purge? And that really hit home for me because as got the book on a Tuesday.
Okay.
On that Sunday, I was laying in my bed and I'm just tossing and turning, trying to figure out what's the next step in my life and, what does God have for me. And that as I sleep, I'm getting this thing say, hey, you're going to write a book. Because I'm motivated now writing.
Okay.
I'm going to write this book. And it says the title of your book is going to be The Purge. And I was like, no, God, because we talked about this and that wasn't the name of the book.
That wasn't in the plan.
That wasn't the plan. That wasn't what you had given me. And I started recounting stories and conversations that my son and I had. And he would always talk about the purge. At one comes to a point, you have to make this purge. Get your book on Tuesday. And the first thing it says, it's time to purge.
Wow.
And I said, God, you have a sense of humor. And it let me know that God is saying, hey, we're on the path here. There's work to be done. So as I go through and I read in the first paragraph, and it says, what are you willing to purge that has mentally cluttered you from moving forward to pursue and own your truth? Now, let me be honest. I've had this book now a week, and I haven't been able to answer that question. Mm-hmm. And the reason why I wanted to share this is because it makes you think. Mm-hmm. It makes you get to the core. It's not that type of book where you think you're just going to put anything down.
Right.
And that's going to be what it is. No, you have to really think about it. And sometimes we start to say, well, that's easy. No, it wasn't easy. It is not easy. And so I'm thankful to you for even, putting forward the question, because I have really been doing some reassessing. I've been a person that I go in and I will put stuff in categories. Just like, hey, it needs to go here, it goes here. But God said that's not the way for our life. You can't live in a cluster.
Right.
So I'm reevaluating and I'm taking my time.
Okay.
To actually go through, because I want to be true to myself.
Okay.
And again, thank you for.
Thank you
for doing that.
Oh my gosh, I never would have thought that, y'all. Sometimes when you're going through what you're going through, you never know how it's impacting someone. And my whole motto is I'm all about positively inspiring, influencing, and impacting all generations. So thank you, Gebray.
No, thank you.
All right. Cop the book on Amazon. It's right there for you.